This is Part 2, Episode 50. A deep voice boomed from within the great star-doe forest. It sounded as hoarse as sandpaper, but felt like rolling thunder when it traveled through the air. It held an unrivaled prestige that seemed to dull the colors of the sky. Elder Xian's expression didn't change at all. If you have the power to put me in the ground right here, you can go ahead and try it. Are you trying to anger me, human? The deep voice in the sky was now tinged with fury. Elder Xian smiled and replied, "So what if I anger you? This was all just a coincidence. My previous decision to leave the Emperor Beast here, instead of taking it back with me to Shrek, was already quite a generous one. Are you trying to frighten me? You've made a mistake. Since this is the case, I'll be taking this Emperor Beast back to Shrek City for strict monitoring. Let's see if the soul beasts of the Great Star-Doe Forest dare to launch another large-scale invasion." He grabbed the three-eyed golden lion's nape as he spoke. The three-eyed golden lion eyes burst open, all three of which were full of indignation. "That's enough." The deep voice hesitated momentarily, then continued, "Release the Emperor Beast, then you can go. I shall swear upon my reputation as Di Qian that we'll let this go just like that." Elder Xian's expression relaxed a little and a look of astonishment flashed across his face. "So it's Di Qian. All right, I believe you." He released his grip once he'd finished speaking and decisively pushed the three-eyed golden lion towards the Scarlet King with a beam of yellow light. The Scarlet King positioned himself beside the three-eyed golden lion, then took the chance to inspect its body. He then realized that the three-eyed golden lion's injuries had all been completely healed, and his gaze became noticeably more tender when he glanced at Elder Xian again. Elder Xian reached his right hand forward and grasped the dark purple soul beast in his hands. Yellow radiance flickered as he swept up Hu Hao and the others, then he raced back towards Shrek Academy. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but anxiously ask, "That fellow hidden within the forest really won't attack us, teacher?" Elder Xian answered plainly, "You guys would do well to remember that soul beasts are generally more trustworthy and honorable than humans." Just as Elder Xian had said, nothing else happened within the Great Star-Doe Forest once they vanished from the Scarlet King's sight. The fearsome and intimidating aura around the Scarlet King vanished into thin air as well. You're too mischievous. I've long since told you that human soul masters are our greatest threat. If he hadn't been from Shrek Academy, your life would have easily been forfeit considering his abilities. We probably wouldn't have even had the time to rescue you. Don't leave the core regions like that again." Elder Xian cautiously observed from beside him. A minute passed, but Hu Hao's expression had remained just as calm as before. His body appeared a little swollen, and purplish black light flickered incessantly all over it, but Elder Xian inwardly gasped in admiration. This level of discipline and endurance wasn't something that a child should possess. Even most of the inner core disciples couldn't possibly do what he was doing now. No wonder he hadn't been afraid of absorbing a 10,000-year soul ring. His body had been enhanced by several soul bones, and with the help of the spiritual seal that he'd talked about, it looked like there wouldn't be any problems at all with this absorption. "Wang Dong, Xiao Xiao, the two of you stay here to watch over him. I have something to discuss with Elder Mu." "Yes." Elder Xian then strode into the Sea God's pavilion. What surprised him a little was that Elder Mu couldn't have not detected their return, if he didn't hear a single sound. He swiftly approached Elder Mu's room and gently knocked on the door. "I've brought the three little fellas back, Elder Mu. Come in." Elder Mu's voice was as placid as before, but it sounded a little downcast. Elder Xian pushed the door and walked in, but was immediately taken aback by what he saw. "Elder Mu, what's happened to you?" Elder Mu was lying quietly in his reclining chair. However, his face seemed a little gloomy and bleak. There was no vitality in his eyes. He now appeared extremely old, and half of his white hair had actually become a plain grey color. Elder Xian himself was a transcendent Dolor, and naturally understood what these transformations meant for Elder Mu. His life energy was quickly leaking out, which would further reduce Elder Mu's lifespan. "Sit down, Xianzi." Elder Mu was still as calm as ever. There wasn't a single trace of emotion within his frail eyes. Elder Xian hurriedly sat down beside Elder Mu. He was incredibly alarmed when he saw Elder Mu and said, "This shouldn't be happening. Your situation was still stable when we left. How did you consume so much life energy within such a short period of time?" Elder Mu heaved a sigh and said, "Don't worry, my time's not up yet." But Elder Mu was the master of the Sea God's pavilion, and even though he possessed the frightening power of an ultimate Dolor, a mournful expression filled his eyes. "That child, Xiao Dao, she's gone." Elder Mu spoke arduously. "What?" Elder Mu was astonished. "How can that be? Wasn't she under your seal?" Furthermore, even if she had the ability to break your seal, you're anchoring down the sea god's pavilion, and the other elders are around too. How could she have vanished just like that? Elder Xian was stern as he said, it must be the illustrious Virtue Hall causing trouble. At the very least, they are definitely connected to it. Elder Mu, do you want me to take some people to the illustrious Virtue Hall to find her? Elder Mu waved his hand and answered, that would be useless. The illustrious Virtue Hall would never actually cooperate with those evil soul masters, and they wouldn't leave any evidence behind either. They most likely just used the evil soul master's strength to attack us. My life energy will run out in a year and a half, after which I will infuse myself within the golden tree and seal my soul imprint within. Whoever wants to cause trouble for Shrek Academy at that point, HMPH. Elder Mu's infuriated grunt wasn't loud, but even a transcendent Dolur like Elder Xian felt his heart skip a beat. We have to nurture the younger generation as fast as we can. The Evil Soul Master organization shouldn't be mature yet, but when they dare to officially appear on the continent, humanity will be in distress and calamity will be upon us. Xianzi, you guys have a heavy load and a long road ahead of you. I feel sorry for Xiao Dao, though. Elder Mu closed his eyes painfully, his face full of exhaustion and weariness. Originally, Elder Xian had been in a great mood. Both Hui Yuhao and Xiao Xiao had gained big rewards from this expedition. Especially Hui Yuhao, who'd absorbed the dark golden terraclaw bear's right palm bone. Moreover, it was an extremely rare, external soul bone, which could evolve. However, Elder Xian's heart grew heavy, and he became nearly as despondent as Elder Mu. Elder Mu contemplated for more than 10 seconds, then said slowly, why did you bring back a soul beast for Hui Yuhao to absorb? How did their adventure go? Elder Xian took a deep breath and cheered himself up, then explained their adventure in great detail. Elder Mu's focus was different from Elder Xian, who placed more emphasis on the dark golden terraclaw bear's right palm bone. When Elder Mu finished listening to Elder Xian's recounting of the events of the last dozen days, he appeared a lot more invigorated than before as he said, an emperor beast, it's actually an emperor beast. Yuhao said that he absorbed its memories? It seems like the archive's records have some deeper meaning, and I guess that we finally have a piece of good news. We have to speed up this child's nurturing. Bring him to see me after he has finished absorbing his soul ring. A 10,000-year purple spirit wolf. Those guys inside of the Great Star Doe Forest are extremely generous when it concerns the Emperor Beast. The Heavenly Emperor's word is worth more than all the money in the world. Thankfully, you all returned safely. However, no one expected Hui Yuhao to take as long as he did to absorb his soul ring. It took far beyond their projections. The dark purple light gradually entered his body. But afterwards he just sat there, without moving an inch. A pale golden light flickered incessantly all over his body, while a vertical golden eye seemed to shimmer on his forehead. This strange scene made Elder Xian invite Elder Mu to observe. Elder Mu probed Hui Yuhao's soul power fluctuations, then told everyone not to disturb him and to let him cultivate in peace. Why was Hui Yuhao taking so long to absorb his third soul ring? Because it wasn't as simple as just absorbing a soul ring. The dark purple soul beast's soul ring was extremely powerful, but it was a spirit type in the end. It boosted Hui Yuhao's spiritual C, and raised the limit on his optimal soul ring age for his spirit eyes yet again. The Skydream Iceworm was very conservative with his estimates to ensure Hui Yuhao's safety however, thus he only allowed Hui Yuhao to absorb around 6,000 years worth of the soul ring's power before sealing the rest. After fusing with his third soul ring, Hui Yuhao's accumulated cultivation also came into effect now that he'd overcame his bottleneck. The Ice Jade Scorpion and Dark Golden Terraclaw Bear's soul bones, both of which were extremely powerful, had brought about great benefits to Hui Yuhao's cultivation. Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong hadn't let up on their cultivation either, and the life gold had also nourished Hui Yuhao's body. So when the mysterious heaven technique broke through, his soul power erupted in an overwhelming surge of power. Hui Yuhao could feel his soul power still soaring even when he reached rank 31. It was only once he'd reached rank 32 that he felt the rate of increase stabilize, but it didn't stop increasing until he'd reached the peak of rank 32. Hui Yuhao had an ultimate martial soul, which was very different from ordinary soul masters. At rank 30, the density of his soul power was noticeably greater than most soul masters. Elder Mu had warned him some time ago that the increase in his soul power would slow down significantly once he reached rank 30. If an ordinary soul master had obtained 2 soul bones in the same manner as he had, it wouldn't have been surprising for them to increase 4 or 5 ranks once they gained their third ring. Even so, Hui Yuhao was still happily surprised by his gains. It was definitely a good start considering the difficult cultivation he'd have in the future. It took him roughly 8 hours to complete everything, which was still much faster than it normally took a soul master to fuse with a soul ring. As soon as he completed his fusion and was about to relax, his Eye of Destiny suddenly started to act up. He immediately tensed up again, as the eye began to emit an absorptive force. What was this? Was the Eye of Destiny absorbing his spiritual power like Electrolux had mentioned earlier? That was exactly what was happening. It had occurred even faster than Huiyuhao expected. The Eye of Destiny was sucking away his spiritual power with such immense strength that he couldn't even try to resist it. It even took away a shred of his spiritual origin. Fortunately, this process didn't cause him any pain. The memories from the three-eyed golden lion flashed through his mind once more, appearing much clearer this time. Everything started to change weirdly. He could feel an indescribable shift in his spiritual sea, as if part of it had been drawn away with his spiritual power. His awareness seemed like it was jumping from one side to the other when the sliver of his spiritual origin entered the Eye of Destiny. Everything seemed to happen in an instant, but it felt like it took an eternity. When he finally awoke from his cultivation, the sun happened to be rising slowly in the east. Huiyuhao subconsciously turned his gaze to the east. When he did so, the purple that flashed through the sky seemed to be brighter than it had been before. A new warmth filled his eyes, and he was shocked to discover that his eyes had been nourished by the purple light that had washed across them. This was something that he'd never experienced before. He shut his eyes and focused his mind, feeling a little dizzy. After refocusing himself, he opened his eyes to stare just above the rising sun, and everything he saw seemed to be different from before. Countless spots of light, most of which were golden, floated through the air. The whole world seemed to have exploded with color. The sun wasn't blinding at all, but he couldn't tell whether it was red or gold in color. This is, everything new in front of Huiyuhao disappeared as his mind wavered. His third eye shut itself, even though it had just opened. Everything returned to normal once he'd reopened his eyes. However, he was still shocked by what he'd felt earlier. The Eye of Destiny had given him a special perspective. He could also clearly feel that everything was still normal when he injected his spiritual power into his spirit eyes. If he were to use a soul skill, the might of his increased spiritual power would be displayed. His spiritual power seemed to have changed after he injected it into the Eye of Destiny. There appeared to be some form of connection between his spiritual sea and the Eye of Destiny's second spiritual sea. As his spiritual power was instantly depleted at a frightening speed, Huiyuhao immediately tried to use his spiritual detection. He discovered, to his shock, that it took 4 times as much soul power to unleash the soul skill through his Eye of Destiny. Doing so also used up a third of his spiritual power, despite the fact that spiritual detection wasn't very taxing on either his soul or spirit power. However, the benefit he gained was as great as the cost, and equally shocking. When unleashed through the Eye of Destiny, his spiritual detection covered 3 times the area that it normally did. It was able to reach up to 600 meters. He quickly entered the Sea God's pavilion, and came to Elder Mu's bedroom. "Teacher, what's this?" Huiyuhao was stunned when he saw Elder Mu, but Elder Mu didn't explain anything to him. He raised his hand to stop Huiyuhao from speaking any further. "Tell me how you're feeling. I believe you didn't just absorb your soul ring, given that you've been meditating for so long. Do you realize that this is already the 3rd morning since you returned to the Sea God's pavilion?" "What?" Huiyuhao was appalled. It didn't feel like much time had passed at all. "Tell me about the changes that this Eye of Destiny has brought you. I'm curious." There weren't many things about a Soul Master's abilities that could make Elder Mu curious anymore. Huiyuhao was honest, and described the changes to Elder Mu. However, he still concealed the matter of the Eye of Life. After all, that involved Electrolux, and his third eye finally had a legitimate backstory behind it. Elder Mu thought for a moment after Huiyuhao finished. He said, "It's very similar to the change that occurs when a body soul awakens for the 2nd time, but your increase in strength was even greater. You have to analyze the brilliance behind the word destiny in the Eye of Destiny. Receiving power from the Emperor Beast is no simple thing. From today onwards, you shall learn from Fan Yu for 3 days, then return and cultivate with me for 3 days. Wang Yang will then give you theoretical lessons on Soul Masters for 1 day. You'll need to work for 7 days a week without any rest days. You don't need to return to the outer courtyard either. You'll just need to take the advancement exam every year." Huiyuhao was a little shocked when he heard this, but knew that Elder Mu was doing his best to nurture him. "No problem." Elder Mu said, "You can go now." Go and find Fan Yu first. I've already informed him that he can begin the Soul Tool Department's ultimate soldier plan. You shall be learning alongside Hikaitu, teacher. What about Wang Dong? Hui Yu Hao asked. Elder Mu replied, he doesn't have much interest in soul tools. Don't worry, he'll remain in the Sea God's Pavilion to cultivate with me. I'll also supervise your joint cultivation. You shall return to the Sea God's Pavilion every night to cultivate with him. Yes, teacher. Elder Mu opened his eyes slowly and looked at Hui Yu Hao with a gentle yet stern look. Yu Hao, you must enter a rapid state of development from now on. Possessing an ultimate martial soul doesn't just signify your bright future, it also means that you carry a heavy responsibility on your shoulders. In 2 years, you'll proceed to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy for a 3-year exchange. I hope that you'll have your own special set of skills once it's time for the next Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. We're a little tight on time, but time isn't on my side. The ties between the empires on the continent are fragile. The Sun Moon Empire has shown signs of making a move, the body sect has reappeared, and, he paused for a while, then gazed at Hui Yu Hao seriously. Your ability to obtain the Emperor Beast's power of destiny shows that destiny has chosen you. Your future isn't just about protecting Shrek Academy and revitalizing the Tang sect. It's also about ensuring the continent's peace and stability. If you can remember my words and are willing to do your best, it'll be an honor to be your teacher. For some unknown reason, Hui Yu Hao felt his heart become heavy when he heard Elder Mu's words, though it wasn't because of Elder Mu's words or tone. He couldn't help but ask, Teacher, how's your body? Elder Mu smiled and shook his head. He replied, I'm fine. At my age, I've already learned to accept unpleasant truths. Don't worry, I won't give up on my ailing body so long as it means that I can protect Shrek Academy for just one more day. After the 3 of them went missing, a frightening aura was released when Elder Xian clashed with 3-headed Scarlet Devil Mastiff. Mo Feiyun had been terrified when he felt the aura, and immediately frantically escaped with everyone. Because they didn't know where the aura had come from, they ran in the wrong direction in their panic, and met with opponents that they couldn't deal with. In the end, they made a lucky escape after they left the 3 Soul Kings behind. However, they didn't make any progress after searching for several days, and had no choice but to leave the Great Star Do Forest. Missy, Your Highness, it seems like we'll have to make a trip to the extreme north. Mo Feiyun sighed. Mu Shui comforted him, Master Mo, it's fine. We can search slowly. It's also better for me and Wei Na to search for martial souls in the extreme north. However, it's a pity for those 3 other masters. The sect will compensate their families greatly when we return, don't worry. Mo Feiyun nodded his head and said, Hi, it's all my fault. I let them down. If I hadn't chose the wrong direction and brought everyone to the hybrid region, all of this wouldn't have happened. Mu Shui snorted. They are also to be blamed. We haven't seen them since they disappeared. Don't let me see them again. Wei Na commented, Sister Mu Shui, we can't blame them either. They didn't do anything to us either. They only left us suddenly. Mu Shui answered, even though I don't think that they are capable of making 100,000-year soul beast unleash its aura, they did coincidentally disappear when it happened. Who was the one that brought Xiao Xiao and Wang Dong away? If I'm not wrong, the 3 of them were here to seek soul rings. But they must have been followed by a powerful elder. Star Luo National Academy is the top academy in the Star Luo Empire, and has titled Doluo-level teachers. Maybe that elder was a titled Doluo who attracted strong opposition. Teacher Fan Yu, how did you know I was coming back? Hui Yu Hao asked curiously as he followed Fan Yu into the soul tool testing area. Fan Yu replied, Elder Mu informed me. Hui Yu Hao was shocked, Teacher informed you. Fan Yu chuckled and said, Elder Mu is highly skilled, what's so strange about him using long-distance communication? You have an important mission from today onwards. It'll be much tougher than before, but you must persevere. The Sea God's Pavilion has decided that the Soul Tool Department will use all of its resources to initiate the ultimate soldier plan and nurture you and Hikai too. The pressure on the both of you will greatly increase from now on. Even though I'm your teacher, I won't let you off so easily. You'll face immense challenges when the training begins unless the both of you somehow back out of the ultimate soldier plan. The 2 of them finally reached testing area number 12. The testing area was empty, save for Hikaitu, who was in the midst of creating a soul tool, Senior He. Hui Yu Hao greeted him and rushed over. Hikaitu put the metal in his hands down and chortled, Little Junior, you're finally back. How are things? Are they settled? Hui Yu Hao nodded and replied, I'm a soul elder now. Fan Yu said, all right, let's get to work. Both of you, come over here. Hui Yu Hao and Hikaitu rushed to Fan Yu and stood in front of him. Fan Yu said in a deep voice, the ultimate soldier plan will start from today. Even though it's likely to be very tough with your current cultivations, there's no way that you can back out now. You need to give your all to complete this training. Dean Xian, Dean Qian, and myself will be guiding both of you. I shall explain the significance of the Ultimate Soldier Plan in today's first lesson. The Ultimate Soldier Plan aims to nurture a powerful entity capable of changing the tide of an entire war. The definition of war here refers to resistance by a foreign army. All 4 empires on the continent have armies that consist of soul masters. The generals of these armies must, at the minimum, be a soul sage. If a coordinated and well-trained army possesses sufficient soul tools, even titled Dolor can't easily deal with them. Since the 2 of you have been chosen as part of the Ultimate Soldier Plan, you must not only learn how to create soul tools, but you must also know how to use them. In addition, you need to learn infiltration, camouflage, investigation, destruction, and concealment techniques on top of military knowledge. The Academy's original intention was to try out this plan over a 10-year period. However, Elder Mu has instructed us to make it feasible within 2 years. Yu Hao, Kai Tu, there's a slight difference in the way that both of you will be nurtured. Yu Hao will focus more on investigation, destruction, infiltration, and concealment techniques, as well as the usage of soul tools. Kai Tu, you'll focus on soul tool development, explosives, camouflage techniques, survival skills, military administration, strategy, observation skills, quick reactions, escape techniques, ambush techniques, and many other miscellaneous aspects. Kai Tu had much more to learn than Yu Hao. This was because Yu Hao had to focus on cultivating both his martial soul and soul tools. After an hour, Yu Hao and Kai Tu proceeded towards the beast dueling area. It was already lesson time, thus the outer courtyard was very quiet. The 2 of them looked at each other, then entered the beast dueling area. A few important figures and the person in charge of the beast dueling area, Gong Changlong, were waiting for them in the center of the beast dueling area. As Shrek Academy's largest exclusive region, the beast dueling area was also the largest building in the Academy. It covered an area that was greater than all of the Martial Soul Department classroom blocks, dormitories, and Shrek Plaza combined. Yu Hao and Kai Tu jogged over there. Greetings to Dean Xian, Dean Qian, and Teacher Gong. Teacher? The 2 of them greeted everyone, including Fan Yu. Gong Changlong had a deep impression of Yu Hao. When Yu Hao imitated the aura of a 100,000-year soul beast, he had caused widespread fear among the soul beasts in the beast dueling area, and they literally shit and pissed themselves. It took a lot of time to clear all that up. Gong Changlong furrowed his brows and he asked, Dean Xian, Old Xian, are the 2 of you both certain that you want to do this? How old are these 2 kids? What if something happens? Xian Lina said in a deep voice, Elder Gong, how can we test their limits if we don't do this? Their potential and abilities can only be fully unleashed in a life and death situation. Yu Hao and Kai Tu were stunned as they heard Dean Xian. Wasn't this just a test? Why did it involve a life and death situation? Gong Changlong said, I hope that the Soul Tool Department doesn't cause any trouble. I don't agree with this. I need to be responsible for these students' safety. Xian Lina took out a token made of some unknown material. The token was lush blue, and contained a spinning blue halo. Elder Gong, the Sea God's Pavilion has already given approval for the Soul Tool Department to begin the Ultimate Soldier Plan. All resources in the Academy must be duly allocated according to their wishes. Please begin with what we agreed on just now. Xian Lina was one of the 2 most authoritative deans in Shrek Academy. His words carried great weight. Elder Gong's expression changed greatly when he saw the lush blue token. He didn't speak any further, and he turned around before leaving. The Sea God's Writ was Shrek Academy's highest-ranked token. It could only be given out during the conference held within Sea God's Pavilion. It could only be used temporarily, and had to be returned to the pavilion afterward. One who held the Sea God's Writ could move all Shrek Academy's resources, which included recalling graduated students and reallocating Shrek City's human, material, and financial resources. Apart from Elder Mu, everyone had to listen once the Sea God's Writ was revealed. Even Elder Xian was no exception. If something special happened, only Elder Mu could retrieve the token before the user completed his mission. Yu Hao and Kai Tu didn't know the significance of the Sea God's Writ. They were a little nervous now. What exactly was the test about? Xian Lina nodded at Fan Yu. Fan Yu, tell them about the test. Here they come. Yu Hao shouted and turned around. He shifted his feet 2 steps and blocked Kai Tu. A wolf-like soul beast that was covered in black fur had leapt towards them quietly. It even seemed a little illusory as it leaped. It was a spectre wolf, a lightning-quick soul beast with extreme dodging abilities. This spectre wolf's forehead had a lock of golden hair, which signified that its cultivation was beyond 1,000 years. 3 white soul rings rose from Yu Hao's feet. His eyes lit up, and a dim golden light flashed. His spiritual detection sharing was initiated, covering 100 meters around him. A very clear blueprint appeared in Kai Tu's head. Hui Yuhao immediately reduced the area that his spiritual detection covered to save his soul power. He had no Wang Dong, Haodong power, or golden light to aid his recovery. He had to depend on himself and He Kai too. The spectre wolf had already burst in front of them in this short period of time. He Kai Tu's body rang with clanging noises, and 12 small soul tool cannons appeared on him. He immediately chose his soul tools based on his experience and Hui Yuhao's advice to retreat after attacking. The 1,000-year spectre wolf didn't leap at them directly. As it realized that it was less than 10 meters away from Hui Yuhao, its body shook a little, and 2 other spectre wolves appeared on its left and right. There were now 3 of them that were coming from different directions. 2 of them went for Hui Yuhao, while the remaining spectre wolf went for He Kai Tu. This was the spectre doppelganger, an innate soul skill of the spectre wolf. Only one of the doppelgangers was real. The other 2 didn't have any true offensive abilities. Not only was this innate skill useful, but it was also quite effective. If not for the fact that soul masters couldn't unleash their soul skills with this skill, the spectre wolf would have already been extinct. Even so, 1,000-year spectre wolves were soul beasts that many beast soul masters liked to choose. Hui Yuhao also moved as the spectre wolf turned into 3 different figures. He used the ghost shadow perplexing track to turn illusory as well. His abilities had benefited from an all-round increase as his cultivation went above 3 rings. His speed became extremely rapid. Along with the changes to his body by the Life Guardian, he was like a hunted panther escaping quickly as he burst out. His figure flashed, and he reached the spectre wolf on the left. His right hand slapped the head of the spectre wolf directly. He struck at a very opportune time. It was in exactly the same moment that the spectre wolf jumped out. The spectre wolf couldn't change direction anymore, and only lifted both its front legs to claw at Hui Yuhao. At the same time, it tried to bite Hui Yuhao's right hand. However, it was doing this based on its calculation of Hui Yuhao's arm length and the speed of his strike. At this instant, 5 long dark golden blades suddenly appeared at the tips of Hui Yuhao's fingers. He Kai Tu hadn't seen Hui Yuhao's dark golden terror claws before. He only knew that Hui Yuhao didn't show any obvious undulations of soul power when he killed the 2 soul beasts. He had only maintained his spiritual detection, and used pure strength to kill both soul beasts. The 2 soul beasts were killed before they could unleash their own abilities. This was especially so for the python, which had wanted to mount a surprise attack. However, it was killed before it could do so. However, He Kai Tu didn't have time to ask Hui Yuhao what his dark golden terror claws were. The test had only just started. Even though Hui Yuhao had already displayed his full strength, it didn't change the nature of the test. 4 more soul beasts burst towards the 2 of them from 4 different directions. These 4 soul beasts were all different, but they were obviously at least in the 1,000-year bracket in terms of cultivation. They were a lion, a tiger, a panther, and a bear. They were 1,000-year soul beasts, but there were differences in their powers. Just like how a 1,000-year dark golden terror claw bear was unafraid of a 10,000-year devil tiger cat, these 4 species of soul beasts might not have especially outstanding blood lineages, but their powers were greater than those of most soul beasts. Furthermore, these 4 soul beasts belonged to the same element, the rare metal element. This meant that they were skilled in physical combat, and their defensive strength was extremely high. The 4 soul beasts let out different roars as they started to force their way closer to Hui Yuhao and He Kai Tu. The 1,000-year golden panther was the quickest. This yellow-eyed golden panther had a row of fine metal spikes on its neck. Each spike was around 3 inches in length, and covered its neck all the way to its spine. Although it moved very swiftly, it didn't dash over at the first opportunity. The 4 soul beasts seemed to be coordinating with one another. This was Shrek Academy's beast dueling area. Some of the soul beasts had been trained. The higher the soul beasts' cultivations, the higher their intelligence. Training them wasn't completely impossible with sufficient temptation. Of course, the secret method to training them was confidential in the academy. A dim radiance flashed, and Hui Yuhao's face revealed a cold smile. Coordination? How could he let them do as they wished? Charge! Hui Yuhao shouted, and charged towards the east with He Kai Tu. There was a 1,000-year golden bear on this side. It was huge and burly, its body close to 3 meters tall and exuding a golden glow. Although it couldn't compare to the dark golden terror claw bear's dark golden glow, its standing fur and rough skin made it the most defensively resolute among the 4 soul beasts. It was also the strongest. The golden bear roared as it saw Hui Yuhao and He Kai Tu rushing over. It charged at the 2 of them, while the other 3 soul beasts also sped up, quickly surrounding the 2 humans. The golden panther was the fastest, chasing them like a bolt of yellow lightning. As the golden bear faced them from the front, it would attack them from behind. Huiyuhao suddenly lifted his head and squinted. Two streaks of purplish gold light shot out from his spirit eyes. The golden bear's body trembled violently, and its front legs lost their footing before it crashed onto the ground. Its immense weight even caused its two front claw bones to crack slightly. Huiyuhao's cultivation had increased to 3 rings, and he even possessed the Eye of Destiny. While his increased spiritual power was sucked away by the Eye of Destiny and left him almost the same as before, the quality of his spiritual power had greatly increased. He used spiritual shock to completely crush the golden bear's spiritual power. Why did Huiyuhao choose this direction? The reason was simple. The bear had the lowest intelligence among all 4 soul beasts, even though it was the strongest. This meant that its spiritual power was the weakest among the 4 soul beasts. It wasn't directly killed by the spiritual shock, but its soul had suffered irreparable damage. Huiyuhao and Hikaitu's backs lit up. Their soul tool thrusters were initiated, propelling them forward. They quickly closed the gap to the golden bear. The golden panther was now only 20 meters away from the other 2 soul beasts were 50 meters away, as they were not as quick. Huiyuhao had enough time to do many things with the distance between them and the other soul beasts. He suddenly leapt forward and unleashed the dark golden terror claws once again. He didn't stab the claws into the bear's head. Since he was trying to conserve his soul power, he didn't want to waste it on the golden bear's skull. This golden bear's defensive strength was much greater than the wolf and python earlier. The dark golden claws stabbed into the bear's neck and tore its spinal cortex. Its huge body slumped down, its life leaving its huge body quickly. Hikaitu's figure flashed, and he came in behind the golden bear, using its body as a shield. Huiyuhao stepped onto the golden bear and used his momentum to leap up before turning around in midair. He lifted his right hand high above his head, as his entire body bent into a bow. He was like an axe that was about to unleash immense destruction. The golden panther was already close to him at this point. A streak of frightening dark gold light shot out from Huiyuhao's right hand. The dark golden terror-claw bear's true appearance was finally revealed for the first time. The huge dark golden projection swept across the space between the panther and Huiyuhao, its frightening aura causing the other 2 soul beasts to stop in their tracks. The golden panther, however, was already in the air, and was about to unleash an all-out attack on Huiyuhao. Its body flashed with a golden light as it tried to resist Huiyuhao's attack. However, its body was still instantly cut to pieces, falling to the ground in a splatter of blood and gore. Damn it, dark golden terror claws. Qian Duoduo finally recognized what Huiyuhao's right palm bone was. Who didn't know of the famous dark golden terror claw bear? Even Qian Duoduo envied Huiyuhao now. Not only was it difficult to kill a dark golden terror claw bear, it was even more tedious to find a dark golden terror claw bear that fit one's own cultivation. Furthermore, dark golden terror claw bears didn't just possess one innate skill. Finding a soul bone and a soul skill from a dark golden terror claw bear was even more laborious. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.